The economy's crashing, Trump's throwing out random tariffs, and Jimmy Kimmel is having a field day with it. Let's break down the chaos with a few laughs along the way.
Our World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers today met the draft dodger-in-chief at the White House. It was a unique opportunity for the franchise that signed Jackie Robinson to meet the president who had him removed from our government.
Jimmy Kimmel mocked the Los Angeles Dodgers meeting Trump at the White House, highlighting the irony in the team, which signed Jackie Robinson now meets the presidents who removed him from government websites. Kimmel sarcastically acknowledged that the Dodgers might owe Trump for his post-fire water division, so they showed up. He mockingly noted Trump seemed to have a deep and specific understanding of the Dodgers' World Series victory.
All year the Dodgers faced down adversity. You entered the playoffs battered and bruised but not broken. When you ran out the healthy arms, you ran out of really healthy. They had great arms, but they ran out. It's called sports. It's called baseball in particular, and pitchers, I guess you could say.
Jimmy Kimmel joked about baseball, saying it's called sports, specifically baseball, and pitchers, well, you could say that their brains are basically just pouches of Big Luke Chew.
And Max Muncy, I want to congratulate Max. Max. Come here, Max. His arms are very strong when I touch them. I'm used to shaking politicians and hitting their arm, and it's like Jell-O. And now it's like steel.
Jimmy Kimmel stated, "Put a tariff on it and it's steel," mocking Trump's trade logic. He mocked Trump for taking a break from crashing the economy to host the Dodgers. Wall Street was in freefall, the Dow and S&P plunged, retirement funds evaporated, and billionaires started bailing. But Trump, he doesn't care about money. He's all about love now. Kimmel quoted Trump's latest meltdown tweet. "The United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak and don't be stupid." "Be strong and stupid," Jimmy said. Trump also warned, "Don't be a panic," trying to brand a new insult. Jimmy called it Panic in Skywalker, but predicted it wouldn't catch on. Since Trump took office, $11 trillion has disappeared. Yet he flew on taxpayer money to a golf resort, posted another fake hole-in-one, and skipped a soldier memorial for fajitas at a $1 million per plate fundraiser. As Jimmy put it, nice to see him relaxing after destroying the economy.
Any questions?
How was the golf tournament?
Very good, because I won. It's good to win. You heard I won, right? Did you hear I won?
Yeah.
Just to back it up over there. I won.
What's your handicap
I like
these
to win.
days?
Very low. I have a very low handicap.
Jimmy Kimmel jokes, "Of course he won. Anyone who beats him gets deported to El Salvador." But don't worry about the looming recession, Kimmel adds. Trump has a plan. The new Trump Gold Card, his latest scheme to make us a lot of money and fast.
$5 million. For $5 million, this could be yours. That was the first of the cards. See that? You know what that card is?
Gold card.
It's the gold card. The Trump card, gold.
Jimmy Kimmel roasts Trump's latest move, asking when did he turn into the world's sweetest magician. He mocks the oversized Trump Gold Card, saying it won't even fit in a wallet, just another art project to keep him busy. Jimmy Kimmel calls Trump slap happy after he randomly threatened a new 50% tariff on China. Reports say Trump personally chose the number from a menu, like ordering from McDonald's. The most baffling? A tariff on a penguin-inhabited island near Antarctica. Guess it's time for Happy Feet 3, Jimmy jokes. Notably absent from Trump's tariff list, Russia. The White House explained it's not appropriate to tax them during ceasefire talks with Ukraine, but ironically, Ukraine did get hit with tariffs. Now Trump's staff, who Kimmel assumes must be smart people, are left defending these baffling decisions, like Treasury Secretary John Bissant, who faced the music on Meet the Press.
The markets lost more than $6 trillion in value. Was this disruption always part of the plan, Mr. Secretary?
Look, Chris, markets are organic, the animals, and you never know what the reaction's going to be. One thing that I can tell you as the Treasury Secretary, what I've been very impressed with is the market infrastructure, that we had record volume on Friday, and everything is working very smoothly, so the American people they can be very take great comfort in.
Jimmy Kimmel tells viewers to relax, curl up, and burn a good book, as Trump, who sounds like he's BSing an oral report he didn't prepare for, claims to have it all under control. Then there's Kevin Hassett, director of the National Economic Council, who Kimmel says is a gifted suckler of the Trump treat.
So if you're saying that he's waiting on great deals and 50 countries have already come to the table, have any of them been great deals, good enough for him to negotiate with?
I've seen some deals that are great, and President Trump is going to decide if they're great enough. But again, after decades and decades of mistreating American workers, it's going to be tough to get him to decide to really come to the table and sign on the dotted line. But when he does, he's going to sign with that big, long, beautiful signature, and he'll have made a great deal for America.
Jimmy Kimmel jokes that Kevin Hassett must have pictures of Trump under his mattress, gushing over Trump's big, long, beautiful signature. You just want to put your tongue on it and lick it a little. Kimmel reminds viewers that Trump was elected largely on the promise to improve the economy from day one, and now we're living through the exact warnings he once gave.
Of this,
If we lose, you're going to have a crash like you wouldn't believe. If we lost this election, I think the market would go down the tubes. I think it's going to be 1929 depression if we don't win. If I would have lost, the stock market would crash. If he's elected, the stock market will crash. If he gets in, the market will crash. If Biden gets in, the market will crash. If Harris wins this election, the result will be a Kamala economic crash. We're going to have a crash like a 1929 crash if she gets in. We're going to have a crash like 1929 if she gets in. It will not be pretty.
Jimmy Kimmel quips, "Tonight, we're going to party like it's 1929 as the economy tanks. While America's stressed under their imperious pumpkin, King Charles is calmly playing the flute with the London Vegetable Orchestra." Jimmy Kimmel jokes, "I blame Trump for that too. King Charles wasn't blowing carrots before he was president." He highlights nationwide protests where hundreds of thousands marched to keep Trump's tiny baby hands off Medicare and Social Security. Protest signs brought humor, with lines like "honk if you've never drunk texted war plans," "IKEA has better cabinets," "grab him by the Tesla," "Elon can Olga garland my nuts." Even Republicans are angry, but Kimmel reminds us, Trump and cornies like Secretary Tommy Tuberville weren't elected for tariffs. They were supposed to protect us from the real issues.
Jackie, we have entire men's teams across this country now that are turning trans.
Yeah.
Women's teams, they're turning trans. And that's going to be a situation where it's going to pick up speed because these woke globalists are pushing these kids to say, if you can't compete in men's sports, let's just transition and say you're a woman and
So, as the economy tanks and Trump slaps tariffs on penguins, just remember, he's got it all under control. Just grab your Trump gold card, choose some big league, and hold on. The circus is far from over.
To say what a crazy country we live in. It's hard to remember what things we used to be worried about, right? I mean, I was thinking about this today, and so I looked up our monologue from 20.
Jimmy Kimmel joked his advisor asked him for $20 after the Dow, Nasdaq, and S&P dropped again, comparing the market to Kanye West. Amid the chaos, Trump tweeted, "I am pleased to report that my log-scheduled annual physical examination will be done at Walter Reed. I have never felt better." Kimmel noted the irony, mocking Trump's history of exaggerated health claims. He recalled Dr. Harold Borstein calling Trump the healthiest individual ever elected and noted he's now dead. Kimmel also highlighted Elon Musk calling Peter Navarro dumber than a sack of bricks and nicknaming him Peter Retardo.
I find that I do better in bad markets. I buy things in bad markets. And you can't do that in a great economy. You can't buy it. Either you're going to buy it very expensively or not be able to buy it at all. So there's a lot of opportunity, I find, in the bad.
Jimmy Kimmel called the economy a Chernobyl of opportunity, sarcastically adding that our stable genius claims there's a lot of good economic news too.
I said we're going to try and get groceries down, right? An old-fashioned term, but a beautiful term. Eggs. Eggs are down now 79%, and they're all over the place. We have groceries, meaning food is down. We have everything is down at levels that nobody ever thought possible. So call them groceries, but that's down. energy's down, and interest rates are down.
Jimmy Kimmel noted that the stock market, 401ks, and morales are all down, joking that what goes down must go down more. He pointed out that Trump claims about egg prices aren't entirely true. While eggs dropped slightly from $20 a dozen, overall food prices are still up. Kimmel mocked Trump's decision to impose tariffs on 86 countries, including a nearly uninhabited island of penguins, while oddly leaving Russia off the list.
The reason we're not talking about tariffs with Russia is because we're not doing business essentially with Russia, because they're...
Kimmel mocked Trump for excluding Russia from his tariffs, joking, "Keep those bombs coming or it's tariff city for you." He pointed out that Trump thinks Russia's at war but Ukraine isn't. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Zelensky said there's been no response from the US after Putin ignored Trump's peace plan. Kimmel quipped, "We're busy destroying our own country right now." Trump plans an 84% tariff on China, totaling 104%. Kimmel joked, "Not enough? Make it 104%. China called the tariffs a mistake on top of a mistake, and Kimmel added, "How about we fight to the middle and then stop?" He ended by mocking Fox News for spinning the tariffs as a win.
He is staring them down Clint Eastwood style in order to get the maximum deal possible, knowing that China is the main focus, but he's gotten the world's attention to reconfigure trade. Everybody's paying attention now.
Jimmy Kimmel pointed out that just because someone waves the full diaper over their head, it doesn't make it positive. He slammed Fox for pretending Trump's actions are good, saying they're terrified of him and worried about losing viewers to Newsmax. Kimmel then shared a montage showing the difference between reality and what Fox is reporting about the world this week.
The U.S. stock market's in a free fall. When you zoom out and maybe look at like a 5-year chart, the market is still pretty high.
This was a mini crash.
I prefer to call it a collapse rather than a crash. That's a very emotive word.
Trump's tariffs are having an absolutely devastating impact on the markets.
The market goes up, the market goes down. It always has. It likely always will.
Market meltdown raging on this Monday morning.
For all those people having a panic attack, don't look for the next few weeks.
We are witnessing one of the fastest market plunges ever faced by a new president.
The market suffered from some side effects of taking tariff medicine.
No, it's a bloodbath.
Everything's going to be okay. A new survey shows that 1 in 50 men actually thinks that they can outrun a horse.
Jimmy Kimmel roasted Ted Cruz, calling him Sweaty Teddy and blaming him for a string of Texas sports misfortunes. He joked that Cruz's presence at the NCAA basketball game likely cursed Houston and Florida made an unexpected comeback. Kimmel pointed out that Cruz was also at the college football playoffs when Texas teams lost and in other Texas sport disappointments. He noted the petition to change.org asking Cruz to stay away from games and concluded with a call for Cruz to lay low in Cancun until the backlash blows over. Kimmel then shifted to a more lighthearted topic, announcing the Cheesecake Factory's plan to cut 13 items from its massive menu, joking that it's a tough loss for fans and introducing David Alan Grier to honor the fallen foods.
Here's to the menu items that are gone, but will never. Now goodbye, loaded mashed potato, taco, Doritos, and eggs. We built, but those are we have lost, but we still farewell, and we'll have to make. It's too big. The menu's too big. Thank you.
That's all for today. Tariffs are up, stocks are down. Ted Cruz is still ruining sports, and somewhere Trump thinks penguins are the real threat.
China announced this morning that from next week they will be imposing 34% tariffs on all US goods from April.
China has struck back hard against Trump's tariffs, and the global economy is feeling the heat. With recession fears mounting and the markets in turmoil, could this trade war push us over the edge? Let's break down how China's retaliation is shaking up the financial world. China has made a bold move in the ongoing trade war with the US, retaliating against Donald Trump's tariffs by imposing a 34% additional levy on all US goods. This action has already triggered a massive sell-off in global stock markets, raising fears of a global recession. Analysts estimate that nearly $5 trillion in market value has been wiped out since Trump's announcement. On Friday, China escalated the trade war by slapping an additional 34% tariff on all US imports. This followed Trump's imposition of a 31% tariff on Chinese goods, which was already taxed at 20%, bringing the total levy to an eye-popping 54%. The impact was immediate. Global financial markets are now on edge, and investors are deeply concerned about the long-term consequences. The UK's FTSE 100 index plummeted by more than 7%, marking its worst week since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic in February of 2020. The US markets weren't spared either. The Nasdaq entered bear market territory, dropping over 20%, while the S&P 500 saw its worst 5-day stretch since March of 2020. This market meltdown is a direct result of the escalating trade tensions between the two world's largest economies. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell weighed in on the crisis, warning that all these tariff increases would lead to higher inflation and slower growth. Powell, who had resisted Trump's calls to cut interest rates, acknowledged the economic consequences of these policies. He explained, "While uncertainty remains alleviated, it is now becoming clear that the tariff increase will be significantly larger than expected," adding that the economic effects will include higher inflation and slower growth.
While uncertainty remains elevated, it is now becoming clear that tariff increases will be significantly larger than expected. And the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower.
The International Monetary Fund also expressed concern, with Managing Director Kristalina Georgina stating, "We are still assessing the macroeconomic implications of the announced tariff measures, but they clearly represent a significant risk to the global outlook at a time of sluggish growth. It is important to avoid steps that could further harm the world economy. We appeal to the United States and its trading partners to work constructively to resolve trade tensions and reduce uncertainty." With the global economy already struggling, these new tariffs are adding further pressure to an already fragile financial landscape. Trump's response to China's retaliation was swift and defiant. On his social media platform, Truth Social, he declared, "China played it wrong. They panicked, the one thing they cannot afford to do." His tone suggests he believes China's move could backfire, but many experts are questioning whether his aggressive stance is helping or harming the global economy. The fallout from these escalating tariffs is not limited to stock markets. Oil prices have dropped sharply, with Brent crude falling by 7% as experts reassess their growth projections. The global economic outlook is becoming more uncertain by the day, and financial markets are responding with increasingly volatility. In the UK, the government is negotiating with Washington in hopes of reducing the 10% tariff on British exports. However, some economists believe the impact of these tariffs on the UK's GDP will be modest. James Smith of ING noted that the overall hit from these tariffs on Britain's GDP is perhaps only 0.2% or so. While the UK may escape relatively unscathed, global economies are facing a much larger challenge. The possibilities of a global recession is now more likely than ever. Analysts have raised their predictions of a recession, with some now estimating a 60% chance of it occurring by the end of the year. As global markets continue to suffer, experts are questioning whether the economic damage from this trade war will be temporary or long-lasting. As China and the US continue their tit-for-tat tariff war, the global economy is on a precarious path. With fears of inflation, slower growth, and a potential recession, markets are on the edge and the economic future remains uncertain. Trump may claim victory, but the effects of his policies are still unfolding. As the trade war intensifies, it's clear that the stake couldn't be higher.
Get a guy who is as flawed as Donald Trump is, at least in the traditional sense of politics. Now, the traditional sense of politics doesn't seem to apply to Trump, and he obviously has a connection to a large, significant part of the population that Democrats haven't figured out how to unlock. So absolutely no question about that. Just to be clear, my article is really more about going forward, about how Trump is trying to spin a 1.5 or 1.6% margin as if it was a landslide, which of course is not true. It's one of the smallest margins of victory since the 19th century. But in his
James Carville is enjoying Trump's declining popularity, which is dropping faster than a lead balloon. Carville joked that Trump's approval is aging like milk, as each indictment and outburst makes voters realize Trumpism is all bad. The real question, how long can he go?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
Having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis?
Right.
Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it.
Donald John Trump is suffering from late-stage venereal disease. I said syphilis, but it could be chlamydia. I don't know. And there are a lot of people, a lot of responses, a lot of MDs, a lot of RNs, and some were pretty sure that he didn't. Others were, you know what, it kind of adds up and makes sense. Now, there's a couple things here that we need to know when we assessing the possibility of these claims. I mean, first of all, we know he's had a history of sexual relations with people who've had.
James Carville, an experienced strategist, now enjoys watching Trump struggle like a failed casino act. Known as the Raging Kuhan, Carville earned his reputation by helping Democratic underdogs win with his humor and sharp insight.
That boy ain't right. Can I tell you something? There's nothing right about him. That boy really ain't right in every way.
Carville doesn't just defeat his opponents, he ridicules them. He once remarked that Pennsylvania Republicans would choose an inbred ham sandwich over a Democrat. He avoids subtlety and isn't about to start, especially with Trump, who consistently makes political blunders.
Say it succinctly, say it repeatedly, say it all the time, because I think that Harris is going to win. Let me just say that up front, and I'm doubling down on that prediction, but could be wrong. So Trump wins, he does that. You know what the media's going to do? They're going to go to a diner and start interviewing people. They say, well, I had no idea he said that. Or they're going to go to people on the street. Well, we have the man on the street. Trump has arrested Nancy Pelosi, and you voted for Trump. Well, so if I'd have known that, I wouldn't have voted for him. That's because we didn't do a good enough job of telling.
Carville has honed his skills in a political strategy, while Trump runs his campaign like a reality show full of blunders. Carville, experienced in war rooms, must find it easy compared to Trump's focus on self-promotion and failed universities.
Invitation to you a month ago when you first wrote those words, because we thought, what will Carville say when that deadline comes? What do you think?
Carville knows how to win elections, while Trump knows how to bankrupt casinos. Now, Trump is losing in public opinion, not just the courts. Carville sees this as Trump's support shrinks even among his base due to his 91 felony charges and limited vocabulary. Carville enjoys mocking Trump, knowing he's right. Trump act is getting old, his anger and compliments are tired. Even his supporters are starting to wonder if it's time for a change.
We have a president who is siding with Belarus and North Korea and Russia. I'm sorry, that's a crisis. We have a president that has appointed some of the most incompetent people you can imagine to the United States Congress. We have a president who is starting a trade war with our three biggest trading partners, and we're watching the beginnings of which could be a financial meltdown that we can.
Carville knows Trump's power is fading. Every rant pushes him further into irrelevance. His approval dropping fast, like his casinos. Even Republicans are backing away. The GOP sees the warning signs. The GOP sees the danger ahead.
If you go to the Drudge Report, and I think it'll still be up, there's a story that talks about Trump having hand cuts, and you can link to it. They don't look like cuts to me. They look like sores. And I've asked a number of MDs what medical condition manifests itself through hand sores, and the answer is immediate and unanimous: secondary syphilis. All right, I think there's good.
Trump's 2024 campaign flips between rallies and courtrooms. Stadiums are out. Now he's waiting outside courtrooms facing 90 felony counts. Fraud, documents, drama. It's all routine now. The best part? Trump once claimed he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and keep voters. Turns out he didn't need to pull the trigger.
There's been concern among many people on the Democratic side about how Biden is faring. You took it up a notch, and I heard about this from people in Washington. Heard the White House noticed it. You said the voters don't want this. That's in poll after poll after poll. You can't look at what you look at and not feel apprehension here. That landed in the New York Times. Obviously, like I mentioned, you speak precisely for a reason. And here's some more.
Some Trump loyalists still cling on, but many see he's fading. His worst fear. James Carville isn't just watching the fall, he's mocking it. For him, Trump is spoiled milk, a sinking ship, and a dazed boxer still swinging. With every Trump misstep, Carville delivers another cutting remark, releasing the moment he always expected.
Years. Let's assume the election was November the 3rd of this year. And they said the candidates are Joe Biden, the Democrat, Donald Trump, the Republican, Joe Manchin and Larry Hogan, no labels, and Cornel West. Trump would be a betting favorite, all right? And so somebody...
Carville knows it's not just the lawsuits, it's exhaustion. People are tired of the chaos, the rants, the same old drama. Trump's not losing from scandal. He's losing because he's boring. Even the loyal fans are thinking, are we really doing this again?
We have a guy in the Oval Office that at best, the best interpretation of him, he's anti-American. I'm beginning to come to the conclusion that he actually hates the country.
Yeah.
Not that he's, it's the only thing that in my mind, that can...
Carville sees Trump's brand fading, not with a bang, but through a slow, embarrassing decline, and he's mocking it every step of the way. The real question, does MAGA die with Trump or morph into something even stranger? His would-be successor, DeSantis, Haley, and others struggled to match his appeal. DeSantis tried but came off as robotic. Haley wants MAGA support without fully committing, a risky game. The rest are either too afraid to challenge Trump or too dull to stand out.
And I think she's got...
Carville calls it a gift. Trump's decline is pure theater. The GOP's left with knockoffs, the media tuning out, and even the jokes feel recycled. Trump wasn't made to fade quietly, but honestly, he wasn't built to last either.
Last crisis, you have a chance to build it up. And by the way, this is a war that's not going to be culminated in the short. The first major battle is going to be the first Tuesday in November of 2026. Yeah. So let's leave the light brigade in reserve right now. I'm not saying we shouldn't use it, okay? But let that not be our first thing. And so that's my rationale. Is I just want to tell people, yeah, we got to do something, but we got to do something smart that has a long-term plan.
Trump's collapse isn't sudden. It's slow, messy, and almost funny. Every scandal should have ended him, but he keeps digging. He's like a gum on a subway seat, loud, sticky, and getting worse. Carville's watching, grinning. Is Trump done? Maybe. Does he know it? Not a chance.
Debate. I watched 3 minutes, I took 2 gummies, and I started listening to country music because I knew this thing was not going well at all. No. It was too painful to watch, but I can show you that to this day I could walk back to the room I was in the hotel, and I texted the director of the documentary, and I told him I'm taking 2 gummies and watching country music. This is too.
Trump's not falling to scandal. He's fading into irrelevance. The media moved on. The GOP's eyeing life without him. Even his base is tuning out. Sure, there might be one last stunt, but the grip he once had, it's gone.
Treat this like the moment it is. The whole experiment of the United States is at risk. Let's act like it. Let's don't do stunts and candlelight vigils and all of the other crazy, goofy stuff they do. This is where we are. Let's rise.
America's about to do the unthinkable. Tune Trump out. No cameras, no headlines, just silence. And that's his real nightmare. Not losing, but fading. Carville's laughing, watching Trump yell into the void. The crowd's gone, the spotlight's off, and that's all that's left is noise.
Leave the stage. I dropped 4%. Elon Musk went on Larry Kudlow's show and said we ought to either cut or eliminate Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. How do you get in front of that? All right? There's no way to do that. So my point is, do you want to go there and bang canes at the State of the Union or flash auction signs? Or do you want to have a dignified and determined response to the absolute threat this poses to the United States?
Carville's final prediction: Trump won't crash out, he'll fade. The show's over, lights off, seats empty, and Carville, he's laughing, watching Trump perform for an audience that's already gone.
So yes, they're handicapped. So I will not laugh at them or with them.
It's a very strange example. I mean, it's not an example because there's never been anything quite like it, but Trump has more in common with David Brent than he has JFK. You know, he's a man who wants to be loved, who wants to be famous. You know, he was the host of The Apprentice. Yeah. You know, and he's clearly more ruthless than David Brent. And I think that's the difference. It's just harder. It's harder to have sympathy with him, I think.
Nobody's safe when Ricky Gervais grabs the mic, especially not Donald Trump. With a smirk and a drink, he unleashed a brutal roast that scorched harder than a Florida summer at Mar-a-Lago. The crowd roared, the internet lit up, and Ricky sealed another iconic moment in comedy history.
What's happened is, when you've had privilege so long, equality feels like oppression. They're basically saying, some people want some of our equality.
Yes.
Well, of course they do.
Yes.
That's it.
Damn them, damn their eyes. And one of them ended up president. That's the ultimate offence.
I'm nearly numb to it now. I didn't even bother commenting on that tweet the other day where he said, if I had, even if that terrible shooting, I'd probably have gotten in there even if I didn't have a weapon. That's what a 10-year-old says. I could beat up a lion. I could fight a lion if I had to.
It's funny because when I first heard Trump was running, I thought it was a bit of a joke, but now it's getting serious. So I don't know whether to laugh or not, and I don't know whether I want him to get in just to see what happens or to nip it in the bud. But it's fascinating from an outsider's point of view that it's about fame again. He's going to get in because he's famous, in a way. You know, he's playing that card, and this film's about that. My wife plays that character who thinks the world owes her a living, who wants all these things just because she wants them. You know, and we're meant to, you know, it's odd. It's odd that you've got a future president bragging about how rich.
The moment Ricky hit the stage, the energy snapped. This wasn't your usual polite applause for some billionaire or politician playing it safe. This was the kind of tension that builds up when someone's about to speak raw, undefined truth. He smirked, said it all. No pandering, no sugarcoating, and absolutely no passes for a certain former president.
Eva Longoria and America Ferrera aren't just beautiful, talented actresses. They're also two people who your future president, Donald Trump, can't wait to deport.
Ricky turned calling out hypocrisy into a sport, craving through celebrity nonsense like a master chef filleting a fish. Nobody was spared. Not actors crying about climate changes before boarding private jets, and definitely not politicians preaching about the working class from their golden towers.
You have a reality star who's running for president. You have a plan for Donald Trump, though, what America should do.
Well, first of all, I can't get enough of him. I started off thinking it was quite funny, and then it got a bit serious. And now I don't know whether to want him to get in for the fun of it or not. Yeah. I mean, I can say that I don't live here, so sorry about that, but I think it would be... But I love him. I just want to see a channel 24/7, just him talking, because it's amazing. Amazing. I love it. He doesn't mean to be funny. That's the beauty of it. But I think, what if we just told him he got in?
Okay.
And...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he gets up every day, right, and he does a little address, and we go, yeah, it's brilliant, I was the president of Hyde. And they're...
When Ricky locked onto the topic, everyone anticipated, the room lit up. It wasn't if he'd go after Trump, but how hard he'd hit. With endless material and his signature deep pan delivery, the crowd knew it could be legendary, just like his Golden Globes takedowns.
I am woke now, and I can prove it. Here you go. I love illegal immigrants. Yeah, sue me now. Sometimes I go down to Dover for the day, right? And I look out, right? I look for a boat, and I see a dinghy with about 60 of them, and I go over here, like, right? And I pull them into shore, and I go, women and children first. They go, there are no women and children. Just you lads, is it? Just come on, lads. Come on, lads.
Ricky took aim at the biggest, most tantrum-prone target yet, Trump. An attention addict obsessed with loyalty and allergic to criticism was about to get roasted. No warm-up, no mercy, just sarcasm, receipts, and pure precision. It was political comedy Christmas, and Ricky unwrapped every punchline with a grin.
Does that not tell you everything you need to know about Donald Trump?
Oh. I wasn't political till about 6 months ago. I wasn't interested in politics.
Really?
But now I'm just fascinated. Let's not talk about him, though.
That's fine. Let's talk about you. You're more interesting.
I'm not. It's just...
Ricky could have done a whole show on Trump's failed businesses. The material wrote itself. Steaks, airlines, and a fake university, all branded disasters. Yet Trump still started like a business genius surrounded by yes men. Ricky didn't just have to try. One jab, how do you go bankrupt running a casino, and the crowd exploded. While others tiptoed around Trump, Ricky ran straight through the fire. No fear, no filter, and that's what stung the most. Ricky was everything Trump wanted to be, untouchable and brutally honest.
Crazy right now in the States. It's so divided. Have you seen that reflected in the audiences that you perform in front of?
No, I haven't. But I don't get very political. Certainly not party political. I do it implicitly. I talk about stupidity, misunderstanding, arrogance, lies, all these things that are part of.
Trump spent years chasing Hollywood's approval, only to be roasted by one of its sharpest comedians. It was like begging to get into a party and just to be laughed at and shut out. The crowd howled, viewers were glued, and somewhere Trump was probably rage tweeting. Ricky didn't just roast him, he slow cooked him, severed with sarcasm and zero effort. Every joke hit like a knockout, and the laughter said it all. Trump lost the second Ricky opens his mouth.
4 months ago,
Yeah.
and now it's the only thing I talk about.
Mm.
I get up in the morning and I can't wait for him to get up and tweet.
Well,
I cannot wait.
same
It's my
here.
it's amazing.
It's just what's he gonna say? Which is mental. It's like we've got a celebrity running the biggest country in the world.
It's
but say no more.
It's a
say
president,
no more.
a president getting into the Twitter wars with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's
Crazy.
bizarre. It's off the sky. Think of that a few years ago. I mean, it's unimaginable. But I still try and keep the politics out of funny.
Ricky made roasting Trump look effortless. Just a sip and a savage line. The scandals, lawsuit, and ego gave him endless material. Trump's wealth, tax dodging, and need for attention made him a walking punchline. He even picked a fight with a hurricane. One of the best hits, Ricky used Trump's own words against him. No exaggeration needed, just repeat the contradictions and let the absurdity speak for itself.
This week, he is fighting a prisoner of war with brain cancer and a war widow who's 6 months pregnant. That's the president fighting these people
on Twitter. Yeah,
that's amazing.
No, it's
think of it.
Yeah, sometimes you sit back and...
The moment Ricky dropped the killer one-liner, the crowd erupted, and Trump had no comeback. He mocked Trump's obsession with winning and desperate need for Hollywood's approval and hit hard. While Ricky shrugged and moved on, Trump fumed, pretending no one laughed, but everyone did. Truth Social lit up with the usual meltdown, proving once again Trump can dish it out, but the second it's aimed at him, he crumbles.
Thinking, if you were to host, say, the National Film Awards, and you had to introduce Donald Trump on stage, for example, what would you say?
Oh,
what would be your introduction?
You've really brought the tone down.
What would be your introduction?
Oh, God. It's an odd one, that, isn't it?
That could be the introduction.
Yeah,
That's it.
He is an odd one.
That's what you got to say. That could be the introduction.
Oh my God! I don't know what I'd do in that position. I mean, I think I'd have to seize the day.
And
again, I couldn't go.
please welcome the President of the United States.
No. It's not
so
normal.
I think I'd have to go for it. But, you know, then again, you know...
The best part? Ricky didn't even respond. He didn't need to. Trump's meltdown proved the joke hit home. The internet lit up with memes, late-night hosts replayed the burns, and celebrities piled on. Social media became a comedy war zone, and Trump was the only one not laughing. In an age of spin, satire hits harder than ever. Ricky's roast worked because it wasn't just funny, it was true. He had nothing to lose, no agenda, just the freedom to say what everyone's thinking. And when the whole room laughs and nods, that's truth hitting its mark.
I think he's got that childlike narcissism that he sort of, if he says it, it sort of might be true. But
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of troll about him.
And there's no one in his life to tell him that he's being a wazzock.
He's never had to
does that?
do or achieve anything in his life. You know, this is a man who's, you know, people fell for him because he was a good businessman. Well, actually, someone looked at it, right, and they worked out that if he'd have just put his acquired, inherited wealth on the top 50 stocks, he'd be $6 billion richer than he is. So he's effectively lost money over his...
Trump wants celebrity status but can't handle the spotlight. He keeps picking fights with comedians who are built to shred egos, and he always loses. You can spin facts, but there's no defense when the room's laughing at you. He can't resist jumping in even when he's already losing. The only question is how badly he'll fumble the response, maybe with a rant about "we'll call you elites," missing that Ricky roasts everyone, not just him.
Politics till the last sort of couple of years, and now I can't wait for him to wake up and tweet.
George Conway obliterated Trump live on air with calm precision, dismantling his lies and lawsuits without raising his voice. Trump, expecting the usual, left looking like a broken wind-up toy, unable to adjust before Conway's surgical takedown.
I was offered the job of head of the civil division of the Department of Justice, and I filled out all the forms. They ran my background check, and I was interviewing people who were going to work underneath me. I was sort of far along there, and then I just started having this queasy feeling like I don't really want to work in this administration, because of what I saw.
George Conway, a legal powerhouse, delivered a verbal smackdown so sharp it left Trump embarrassed. A Supreme Court winner in Morrison versus National Australia Bank, Conway was even considered for the top DOJ roles. And as Kellyanne Conway's husband, he truly keeps his enemies close.
So here's the rub. He doesn't think there's anybody else in the world other than him. Right. Because he is the world's ultimate narcissist. So in his universe, he is the only person, and he is certainly the only person that matters. We don't really exist. We are just sort of objects.
On the broadcast, Conway dives into Trump's failures, highlighting his talent for turning golden opportunities into disappointments. It's as if Trump has reversed Midas touch, turning everything into material for late-night comedy sketch.
I think everybody overthinks this guy. There's no strategy. There is no thought. And the brand is just him. He lives in this world where there's just him. Okay?
But it's not just him, George. It's a hell of a lot of people out there who've gotten sucked up into this thing and that are perpetuating
I agree with
that brand.
I'm talking about in his mind.
Okay.
None of us matter. Those people don't matter. They're not real people. He doesn't care what happens to them. If they show him adulation and they do what his bidding, that's good. If they don't do his bidding, he will destroy them. He will discard them. None of us, in his mind, okay, he's as a man with no empathy, a man with no conscience.
Conway highlights Trump's business ventures as reality TV disasters, from failing casinos to a disappointing university. His business history is a how not to guide with stakes vodka and airlines that crashed and burned.
Therefore, he can violate no laws because he is the law. He interprets the law. And not only that, according to Napoleon, apparently that is allegedly a quote from Napoleon, translated from the French, which obviously he does not speak. He is saving the country, and therefore I mean, from Sleepy Joe, who was out there just running amok over everything because he was so energetic. And he is saving the country, therefore he can violate no laws, which is convenient because he is the one who gets to decide whether he's violating any laws. So he's already decided it. We don't need a legal system. We don't need a constitution. It's done. Life is very easy in the world.
Conway critiques Trump's political mishaps, likening his leadership to a bull in China shop. Trump's foreign policy, full of grand promises but shaky foundations, and his friendship with the dictators alienated allies and turned the geopolitical stage into a chaotic, unsettling soap opera.
You don't want to diagnose him, but I think if you look at the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder, he fits every single one of them. It's like the criteria were made to describe him. And I think what we saw with this tweet yesterday is that last final collapse of Donald Trump's mental state. I mean, you think about it, those were like 50, 60, 70,000 people in the aggregate in five rallies in different states. That's loopier than saying that the moon landings were staged, because there were tens of thousands of people were there. To think that is crazy and to try to sell it to people is just as crazy. He's done. His brain is fried.
Conway critiques Trump's estranged relationship with the truth, pointing out how his speeches and tweets often sent fact-checkers into overdrive. When addressing Trump's handling of COVID-19, Conway highlights his focus on politics over results, with dangerous suggestions like the disinfectant comments. He also takes aim at Trump's post-presidency antics, depicting him as a reality star clinging to relevance, more concerned with legacy than democratic policies.
Lying, intimidating, bullying, that's Donald Trump at his worst, and that's Donald Trump always. And he's always going to find the one thing that he can do if there's a list of things that he cannot do and that he doesn't think he can get away with. And he has no complaint.
Conway's takedown is laced with sardonic amusement, highlighting Trump's arrogance and incompetence with precise, litigator-like language. His commentary leaves the public reflecting on Trump's bizarre saga, full of contradictions and controversy, urging viewers to consider the consequences of blending reality with reality TV.
That it will stop him or deter him? Is there any reason why this would impact him actually running?
No.
So legally, no.
Legally, no. I mean, he can run. He could be incarcerated, and he could still run for president. And if he were elected, I think the better legal argument under the Constitution, under Article 1, would be that they'd have to spring him. But I don't think he's going to get elected. But I do think he is going to run. I think he's going to make a big issue out of his legal troubles to say that he is persecuted. He's going to say they're persecuting me. He's already said it because they want to persecute you. And he's going to say, and if violence erupts, he's going to say, it wasn't my fault.